Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're here with another episode of Hellbound, episode 5. Last time on Hellbound, we're finally getting some, I wouldn't say answers, but we're starting to unravel some of the misinformation, or misinterpretation of the events so far, right? Initially, everyone thought this was, an act of God, mostly because this cult leader, Jin-soo, told them that it was an act of God. But as we were progressing, both with his judgment and with, the mom that died in episode 3, and then in the last episode, we saw where a decree was given to a newborn child, um, who clearly could not possibly have sinned in any way unless this new god perceives a diaper mess and a sin worthy of going to hell. So it's clearly that there's some requirement, but it's not sin, or at the very least it's not anything that has to do with man's laws. So as I mentioned in the last episode, the cult leader decided to paint this as some act of God, and that this entity that's essentially pronouncing your death is, or the ones even dragging you to hell, are executioners of hell. He didn't know any of that. He just based that on, I don't know, his own fears. So no one has really thought to stop and investigate why or what is causing this to actually happen. And so I don't know whether this new protagonist that we're following, since we're no longer following the detective, who would be pretty you right now. And who knows, maybe he'll come back. But at the moment, we're following this producer and his family. And, with the child receiving a decree, there are only two options, as I mentioned. Either they can go public and show the world that, look, this is a newborn child. He can't possibly have sinned. And so clearly there is something else at work here. And hope that people come to their senses. But we've seen what these people do and how they react. They have no senses. And so the worst case scenario, which is option 2, or how they choose to interpret it, is that they see it as the sins of the father being passed on to the son, and they somehow try to kill the producer or worse. And in that instant, every single person would be perceived as a sinner, because it could be your father, it could be your grandfather. You just don't know. And if you're following certain faith, you're born a sinner, which means that they're all bound for hell. So it could go either way. As far as how the public perceives this information. Well, should he go public with it? Is another question. I would say yes, if he can keep himself away from the new truth. So this new group that has popped up, with the lawyer from the previous 3 episodes, Hyun, I think her name is, or Hyun. If he can somehow get in touch with her, I don't know how she's alive, and I hope they clarify that. But if you can get in touch with her group appears to be operating anonymously, so perhaps they can share the information without putting him in danger, or his wife in danger, or the child for that matter. So that is my hope. If he can manage to do that, then that would be a smart move, to keep his family safe while showing the world what evidence they have gathered so far. And hopefully, common sense prevails and people start looking into what this thing actually is that is taking people's lives. Because, as they said in the very first episode, the remains that are left behind are not that of the victims. It is something else entirely. So while they're interpreting this as some divine punishment, it could just be some being that is taking these people. So I'm curious the most to know more about what that entity is. So I'm hoping that we get there. I mean, we only have 2 episodes left. I'm hoping that we get there, or some, we get some answers before the season wraps up. All right, guys, let's check it out. Is he considering going to the soda group as well? That's good. Hyun is a part of the group, so I think she could use this information. How would he? Oh, well, okay, I forgot. They don't know that he's dead.
김현석 씨, 정신 좀 더 차리시고, 에? 고집 왔던 때를 좀 더 정확히 좀 얘기 좀 해봐.
Okay, so they're not interested in that anymore. Just want to know when he's gonna die so they can feed the public.
갑자기 나타났어요. 천사가.
김영석, 시간을 말하라고. 시간이 언제야?
앞으로 6.15.
What's the point of even identifying these people? What are you gonna do before they get taken away? I mean,
빨리 본부에 연락해서 시험 중에 준비하라고 해.
시사 프로그램 있지? 예? 증발인가 어쩌고저쩌고. 나도 살아.
왜요?
그럼 다시 한번 보세요.
solo laundry.
이 시대의 국가는 신의 도구로서의 역할까지도 일정 부분 수행해야 돼.
I guess it's because from that last episode where he was in that interview with that guy that's following all the cases. So they're keeping tabs on him now. Interesting. They haven't told us what the explanation for the disappearance of the of Chairman Jin-soo is. They have him in a mural here, but what was the explanation that was given to his followers?
그리고 만인이 보는 마트에서 고지를 받았어요.
I have no words. Not just for him, but the people that are coming in to actually watch this. Does remind you a lot of the evangelist, doesn't it? Oh, they have tentacles now. Okay, this is new. Is that his son?
시청률은 어때요?
I was just gonna say that. How are the ratings?
89.3%입니다.
The very thin line between religion and cultists, and this is where it gets blurred. Has he found them? Okay, well, he found the professor. He told him not to investigate it further or he'd be in danger, but he deliberately showed his face to him, though. Guess they were expecting him. It's not why he's here.
순식간에 퍼지고 있더라고요. 그래서 일단 도망을 쳤죠. 근데 어떻게 알았는지 귀신같이 연락이 오더라고요.
They know about them now. Soto.
나한테 그러더라고요. 아무도 모르게 해방 불량된 걸로 만들어 주겠다고요. 그래서 제가 그랬죠.
고즈나 시연이 죄인들에게만 일어난다는 건
새 진료의 거짓말입니다. 이 일들은 초자연적 원인에 의한 재난에 가까워요.
Yeah.
그런 무작위적 현상의 정진수가 신의 의도를 더 씌운 거죠.
But they already have what they want, though.
어떻게 찾아내나요?
당연히 전부 다 찾아낼 수는 없어요. 우리 조직원
And his wife spent a great deal of time looking up information as well before even telling him.
당신네 방송국에도 있고.
So you now have two factions here. It is dangerous, but they're just as dangerous. I don't know.
받으면 어떻게 할까요?
It's a dangerous world.
겁니다. 심판자의 위치에 있다가 심판 받는 자가 되면 그때서 알게 되지. 세상 우리 인간한테 혼자 죽을 권리는 있어야 한다.
This one they may not want to leave private.
도와주십시오. 오늘쯤 하루 정해보러 오겠습니다.
Oh God. She told him her name?
김영석 주인이 이야기한 민혜진은 몇 년 전 새진리회 초창기에 저희 단체 반감을 가지고
Why would she give them her name? Because he fully expects her to be dead. We need to have a conversation about this at the end of the video. Just some of my past experiences. This is just so reminiscent of, because I grew up I grew up with a very religious family and going to churches and events like this because my mom took me. So let's have a discussion about that towards the end.
신이라고 해도 그 신의 의도가
Oh my God.
새 진료에서 말하는 것과 같은 것이라면 우린 그 신을 거부할 수밖에 없어요.
세상 우리 인간을 위한 신 아닐 테니까.
당신 아이는 아무 죄가 없어요. 세상 누구도 그걸 부정하지 못합니다.
I wouldn't be so sure. I have very little faith in humanity at this point in time in the story. I'm still curious as to why Minnie Sin revealed her identity to this man that we were looking at earlier, who received the decree. And maybe he recognized her. I guess that's a possibility. Perhaps he recognized her from the events that happened before.
공회전은 매너가 아닌데.
Uh-oh. Wait, who's this? Is this one of the Soto guys? If he is, he's being rather careless.
수정아! 야, 이 개새끼들아!
I was just gonna say, watch your back. Yeah, this is Arrowhead, right? If he's one of the Soda members, he was careless.
대상 교화 프로그램을 강화해야겠군요.
주보다 아무도 신경 쓸 사람 없는 사채업자 깡패 새끼입니다.
새 진료회가 알게 되더라도 아기의 수요는 숨기려고 할 겁니다. 자기들한테 불리한 건이니까. 배영재 씨 부부를 영화 살해범으로 만들거나 어쩌면.
They have no ways to broadcast it. Do they have control over all media?
세질리가 말하는 죄의 범위가 제멋들인 것처럼 보여도 명확한 선이 있어요.
I don't agree with her on that.
인간의 노력으로 막을 수 있는 구체적 행위만이 죄가 돼요. 뭐 원죄, 대서뿐만 아니라.
No, isn't that what he was just saying with his child though? They just make it look like something
정진수 의장은 지금 어디 있을까요?
that the child is a sinner somehow or inherited the father's sin of some sort.
죽었어요.
They were just talking about that in the car about rehabilitating the children of sinners.
본인도 고지를 받아놓고 지금 뭐 거짓 교리를 만들었다는 겁니까? 왜요?
글쎄요. 시연이 예정된 채로 한 20년 정도를 살다 보면 어떤 유형의 광이든 될 수 있지 않겠어요?
She has no proof.
지금 저한테 무슨 얘기를 하고 싶은 겁니까 지금?
우리는 배영재 씨 아기의 시연을 중계하고 싶습니다.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what he was hinting at. But she's right. I thought she was saying that they wouldn't allow it to be demonstrated unless he was going to go to new truth. But whatever the case, she is right here.
아무런 죄가 없는 신생아가 고지를 받았어요.
I don't think the public will perceive it or that new truth will react the way she thinks they will, but she is right.
우리 가족 지키는 게 중요한 사람이에요. 어? 아니 상황 봐가면서 씨발 엉뚱한 소리를 해야지. 사람 불러놓고 추워 죽겠는데.
애가 죽는다고 애가!
Your baby's gonna die either way. How is it nonsense? It's to get back to disprove the nonsense.
그래요. 이 역 같은 세상에 태어난 당신 불쌍한 아기. 그냥 사고사로 위장해 드릴게요. 그렇게 아무런 의미도 없는 죽음으로 덮어 드릴 테니까 당신은 제 아빠 고발하는 날 인터뷰나 계속 찍으면서 사세요.
Yeah, I mean, what's the alternative here? The child dies anyway,
그러면 연락 주세요.
and whatever happens, happens, you know. I mean, it's not an easy choice, but that's the reality that he's faced with at the moment.
저 따라가겠습니다. 제 딸도
They're going to walk all the way back. They brought you here. How young was she? Yeah. She's in high spirits. Oh, okay. So, this is before. 30 seconds? The hell?
내가 이 상황을 설명해 주길 바라던 그 눈빛을.
Okay. So there's a real great chance that other people could end up dying as collateral while they're trying to collect their hellbound souls. 30 seconds, and that asshole from the got 20 years. I would feel no relief. I would feel rage.
사고를 당했다고 생각해요. 나한테 닥친 이 불행을 다른 무엇도 아닌 불행 그대로 온전히 슬퍼할 수 있기를 원합니다.
I hope the professor is being more careful because the arrowhead now has his name. And they likely know where he lives by now. I'm worried about his wife because from what she said before about thinking she gave birth to a sinner and she's neglecting the child now, it's giving the impression that she's believing all of that. This is not good. Yeah. Damn it. I would have thought these guys would be more careful or have people watching. You know, they knew the producer was coming for him before he even came for him, but somehow they didn't see this or anticipate this.
그 사람들이 우리에게 시연을 중계하고 싶다니. 중계가 되면 세질리에가 거짓말하는 거 증명할 수 있을 것 같다고.
싫으면
사고 당한 걸로 꾸며줘.
She seems to want to hide it away because she thinks she believes she has given birth to a sinful child because someone has told her to. I don't envy the dad in this situation. I don't understand how the solo group was this reckless. I just don't. Between Mini Jin's name being tossed around, or even she should have even disguised herself if the guy recognized her. I don't understand why she was that reckless and why he was this reckless. Did they not plan for this?
그렇게 돌아다녔는지 알려줄 내비게이션 메모리만 있으면 돼.
And they might just find they might just find Mini Jin if they do that. These are criminals. They don't care that they're being deceived. I can only hope she has learned to be more careful after what happened to her the first time. Nope. She's still there.
저런 무능력한 분들.
Alright, so I guess she didn't have any exit plan. God. Oh, she picked up some skills. I wonder if is this how she survived the last time? I did not know she could fight. You need a car. She should have planned an exit though. Oh God.
이렇게 뵙게 됐네요, 민혜진 변호사님.
Let's see what you've got. Please take him out before you leave. Damn it. I'm just sad that she didn't get to take one of them out. I would not leave the child alone with the mom, not in her current state.
시신 중 한 분은 해당 학교의 교수로 재직 중이었.
Yes, we killed him. So we can kill. You be good.
예. 뉴스 봤죠? 예. 괜찮으세요?
And even if she wants to broadcast it now, how or where is she going to do that? I mean, he could do it. He's a producer, so maybe.
이미 일단 출근했는데요.
같은 상황에서 아내분을 아내를 그냥 두고 나오면 어떡해요?
Why would he leave his wife with the child? These characters, some of these characters make some questionable decisions. It's the detective all over again, from one episode ago. Yeah. She took him the new truth. Yep. All right, episode 5 of Hellbound. I'm a little frustrated. I am a little frustrated. Some of these characters are just making some very, very odd decisions. I had the same trouble with the detective in the first 3 episodes. When you discover your daughter is a part of a cult, you don't, say, okay, sure, it's fine. You can stay over this friend's house that I don't know. This friend that I don't know's house, and, stay over for the night. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. That's a serious thing that, when you find that out, you need to have a discussion with them. You need to know where they are. This is a child, not a grown-ass adult, So that was frustrating, and I'm watching this producer here make the same mistakes. He heard his wife speak, and there are so many red flags, her calling her child a thing, and saying she gave birth to a sinner. It's clear that she drank the Kool-Aid, whatever it is, she drank it. Even if this weren't the case and there was nothing supernatural happening, there are situations where, I forgot the term for it, where, women who've given birth to children suddenly feel that disconnect from the child. Some, in worst case scenarios, have, killed their own children. So even if there wasn't a whole supernatural thing happening, when you hear the mom, the newborn mom speaking in that way, usually that's an indication that you want to stick around, just ensure that she's okay mentally and physically, and also for the safety of the child. So it just frustrated me to see, after hearing what she said, that he was so dismissive of it, in the same way that the detective was in the first 3 episodes. So the protagonists that we've followed so far, I have some issues with, the decisions that they're making. And I mentioned earlier during the reaction that perhaps, because this is a translation from a comic, and typically in comics, it's panel by panel, and there's a lot of suspension of disbelief there, and you assume certain things happen off panel, and because they need to kind of hold the reader's attention and get to the point. But in an actual series where you need to ensure these decisions actually make sense, you need to do it so it makes sense. The same thing happened with the professor, the university professor that was killed. He revealed his identity to the producer when his partner just got taken. He revealed his face to him. That's how he was able to find him. I'm not sure why he would do that. Jin did the same thing. One of the victims that were doomed for hell, he said he recognized her, or he didn't say he recognized her, he just said he knew who it was. I don't know if she told him who she was, or if she just went there with no disguise, because I would have disguised myself. I don't think any of them need to reveal their identity to these people to help them. So that just seemed rather reckless for me. I just thought the organization, the Soda organization, was a bit more organized than it appeared because even before the producer found the professor, um, before he even left the news station, someone was already watching him, and they communicated to the professor that he was on his way. And before he even got there, before he even got to the professor, like a group of guys apprehended him. So I thought, okay, these guys are really meticulous. They're careful. They have this operation going, and they have people watching each other's backs so that they're not caught off guard. Only to see, the first guy that was with the loan sharks, he was immediately taken. He saw a strange car parked outside, and in this world that they now live in, I expected him to be a bit more diligent. I expect all of them to be like that, especially considering that they're going against new truth. So he arrives, he sees a vehicle that he doesn't recognize outside, still running, and he wasn't on guard or anything like that, and it all just seemed a bit, unusual behavior for people who are supposed to be in the business of being careful and stowing people away and being safe. It just seemed a bit careless. So yeah, that happened. They found Mini Jin as well as a result of that. Yeah, and kudos to her. She's actually now able to defend herself. I'm not sure if they said how that happened. I also need to go back to see how she actually survived the first event. I think the professor mentioned that she survived the incident, but I don't think he said how. Maybe I missed it, so I'll have to go back and watch that part. But she kicked ass here. So I mean, I guess within that time she has picked up some skills. That's good. That she wasn't caught. I don't know if perhaps this now means she's the character that we're going to be following, and the others are just background characters to move the plot along. Because we've not had a detective for the last 2 episodes, and I guess we've moved on from him to this new situation with this family, and of course. My prediction for the next episode, because I saw the whole situation with the mother taking the child to new truth. I saw that coming from a mile away. The first thing she did when she saw the demonstration, or well, the time that the child's death was pronounced, the decree, right? The moment she saw the decree, the first thing she did was to go on New Truth's website and look it up to see if it happened before. That was the first alarm, and I immediately thought, okay, she's going to do something drastic. As a matter of fact, I thought at that point she was going to contact New Truth, because if that's your first reaction, then you're far gone, So I don't know. She's already there. I don't think he's going to be able to stop her. So the worst case, they're just going to kill her and the child off screen, meaning not show it to the public, so that they can maintain the status quo. And we would have missed our opportunity. So I guess the end of this, the New Truth is still going to be very much in power, and we're not going to get a whole lot of resolution within just one episode. I'm not sure how long the manga is, but we'll talk about that a bit more at the end of the next episode when we have some more context. I did mention during the reaction I wanted to talk a bit about the New Truth director and his performance there on stage, because this is where the line between religion and cult gets a bit blurred. I pretty much grew up in the church, and my mom would take us to these conventions, no matter what. If one was planned for a specific time, it doesn't matter what other things we had doing at that point. She would ensure that was the priority, and she would take us there, and we'd go there. Usually it starts around in the evening, maybe 6 or 7 o'clock, and we'd be there. We'd be, told we need to pay attention and focus and stay awake until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we went to several of these things, and you know, while I grew up within a Christian home, at a certain point, you know, as I became an adult, or even before that, because, you know, but yeah, the moral of the story is, look, it's easy to judge, you know, some of the decisions that we see we see people make these days as it relates to joining these organizations, whether it's some religion religious faith, or whether it's a cult or whatever the case might be. And as I mentioned in the very first episode, that I feel people have the desire to believe in something greater than themselves in order to give their life meaning, and that's how I choose to look at it. So as someone who grew up under that kind of tutelage, you know, and influence, and was able to assess what was happening and said, you know, I don't think this is for me. I can still respect the need to want to believe in something like that, but I don't think you should be consumed by it. And you know, I hope that is the takeaway from this series in its entirety. You know, when we do get to the eventual end, because throughout history we've seen numerous things take place, and the lesson that I immediately take away from this series is that we saw this event that was unexplainable happen, and we immediately associated it with a religion or some faith, and then we started killing each other, you know, because of it. You know, this could easily be, as the professor said, it's just another phenomenon that has taken place. It isn't immediately associated with God or any religious faith or anything like that. But you know, Jin-soo made it that, and people took his word that that's what it was, and now we're in this chaos where criminals are roaming free. It's not a crime-free society as they paint, you know, it to be. Criminals are running free, just that they're being given the freedom to do this under the guise of acting under God's will. Yeah, so look, lesson, be responsible with the things you say, the things you choose to share with others and spread. Do your research. Don't be so quick to believe something just because someone you know or have great respect for or favor says it. Doesn't make it the case. It doesn't matter if that person is your parents, your grandparents, whether they're some celebrity, some politician. It does not matter, you know. I mean, when it comes to things like this, this unheard of phenomenon that happens, you know, don't be so quick to just take everyone's word as gospel. You know, this is not something scientific that can be explained. Yeah, at the moment it can't be explained, but I mean, eventually, it may not be anything in the realm of what these people have known in their world, but perhaps that is going to be the norm going forward. But try to get as much information as possible so you can make an informed decision, rather than just taking this clown of a I don't even know what he's supposed to be, this new director, and then he's no better or worse than Jin-soo, to be honest, but the argument can be made that Jin-soo didn't associate himself with the Arrowhead, and this guy has no problem crossing the line. But even so, at no point did Jin-soo say don't follow the Arrowhead. He didn't dismiss them or discredit them or say to his followers, don't go down that path. So he, in my mind, he's just he's responsible for having given them power in the first place, So it is what it is. I'm curious to see how the writers will land this ending. As I mentioned, my interest is in the entity or the event that is actually happening. I want to know more about that, and I have not been given a lot of that, but I feel that we're getting close to it. So I'm going to be moving on to the last episode, and hopefully we'll get some answers. Alright guys, remember to post down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode of Hellbound. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the finale.